What is up, everybody? This is your boy Is Nefarious, and I am here with another edition of what was formerly known as Strike and Gold, but is now going to be known as Gold Rush, following the San Francisco 49ers of the Premier Madden League. For you, those of you that don't know, Premier Madden League is one of the most immersive and fun leagues to be in. Sim style type football, a lot of content, a lot of well-rounded users, and a lot of top-tier users. But this series is specifically going to be about the 49ers, and it's going to be about a little bit about Ty Chandler, who was drafted in this past PML draft. He comes out of Tennessee. He's going to be the future running back for the 49ers. Given that Mostert is 29 years old and on his way out of the San Francisco 49ers organization. He's on the last year of his contract, and he might want big money after this season, so he might be the odd man out when it comes to that. We're going to take a look at the roster right now. We did make roster cuts, so this is pretty much what we're going to roll with. As you can see, here's Mostert. He's going to be our starter this year, but Ty Chandler here is a pretty well-rounded back with good speed, good acceleration. Definitely could get that up even more to be a really dynamic, elusive back. You take a look at some of his rushing abilities. Ball carrier vision is at 81, which is really well. The carrying is kind of low at 75, so he could have some fumbling issues. So that's something I might want to get up almost immediately. Then you take a look at his spin move, 73, and his juke moves at 82. So he's got pretty average stats across the board. Very good athleticism, not excellent, but definitely workable, and that's something I could get up more by completing objectives in game and getting dev stories, and also by using content and putting them in training camps and stuff like that. But you take a look at the rest of the roster, pretty standard here. We are carrying a lot of wide receivers. Excuse me. We are carrying a lot of wide receivers, just for the fact of, I like a lot of these guys. Josh Palmer's got really good run block. John Vea Johnson's got good speed. And Kendrick Bourne is probably the one that I could do without, even though he does himself have really good run blocking skills. If you take a look real quick here, his run block's up to 59, so he has solid run blocking skills. So he's our second best run blocker, so that's a plus on him. Looking at his run block, maybe that changes my view on him as a total package. You take a look at our tight ends, George Kittle, David Njoku, and CJ Uzama. So I got pretty athletic tight ends. I could run a lot of big sets where I could either run out of it towards George Kittle, or I could run some play action and get these tight ends open in open field, and they are very dynamic when they are in open field. So we'll see if that's something I lean on when it comes to the regular season. Our offensive line, there's nothing special here. The interior of our offensive line definitely needs some work, but the outer tackles are really good in Mike McGlinchey and Trent Williams, so I'm not worried about that. I should be able to set the edge and also get to the outside, especially with Kittle out there with one of those tackles as one of the best blocking tight ends in the game. Then you take a look at my defensive alignment. We got Eric Armstead as one of our ends, but he's going to move inside to defensive tackle. And the two ends actually are going to be Randy Gregory and Nick Bosa, who are going to rush from the outside. And then on interior, we're going to have Eric Armstead and then Javon Kinlaw. Both athletic inside guys that should be able to rush the passer, and also provide some run stuff in defense. Then you take a look at our linebackers. Kaiser White is going to start on that left outside. Then we got Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, both superstars. And then you take a look at our cornerbacks. Our starting quarterback is going to be Marquise Alexander. Caleb Farley is going to be the guy to take over later on. Then you take a look at our free safety. We got Jamie Ward. Then we got Will Parks, and that pretty much rounds off the opening day roster. We made a few cuts to some tight ends, some wide receivers, I did it actually in a previous video, but that's kind of lost now. But we're going to take a look at the team we're actually going up against week 1. But before we do that, we're going to go into the stats of preseason real quick. So you take a look at some of the preseason stats. Jimmy Garoppolo, really bad with the interceptions. Nick Mullins seemed to have a better preseason, but that's pretty much because Jimmy G. I wasn't really, I wouldn't say I wasn't trying, but I also wasn't scheming and really playing conservative or worrying about anything. I was just slinging it around. The same thing with Nick Mullins, but that's with the backups on the field, so it's a little different. You take a look at Nick Mullins' rating, he's a 111, so pretty good preseason from him. You take a look at our Russian leaders, Chandler, the guy that is going to take over. As you can see, 25 rushes, 148 yards, and almost 6 yards a clip. And then a 1 TD on the preseason. Mostert, he had 73 yards on 11 attempts. So he had a really good preseason, just not a lot of workload. Then you take a look at some of our receiving leaders. As you can see, 2 tight ends at the top. So you could already tell that the tight ends are going to get a lot of love in this offense. And then you got John Vay Johnson, who's the speedster, and he's going to get a lot of playing time just because of his speed dynamic and what he can do in open field. And then you got Brandon Ayuk, who had a decent preseason. Looks like only McGlinchey and Sweet, both right tackles, had a couple of sacks that they gave up, 3 total sacks between the both of them. Take a look at the preseason leaders and tackles. As you expect, Fred Warner is up there. When it comes to sacks, you're going to see here, we got James Crawford, who had a good preseason, and Randy Gregory kind of earned himself a starting position on the other side of Nick Bosa. And like I said, Eric Armstead's going to enter himself into the interior line. You take a look at some of the interceptions. That's what I was looking for. So interceptions, we got 2 from Emmanuel Mosley. Then we got Jimmy Ward, Kenzie Alexander, Tavarius Moore, who's a really speedy free safety who's going to see a lot of playing time. And then we got the rookie Caleb Farley, who had an interception himself. So decent preseasons from some guys, but I don't hold a lot of weight on it. Just because my offense was definitely not what it's going to look like. There was actually 1 game out of 3 where I actually played my offense like I want to play in the regular season, and that was against one of the 3 opponents. I'm not really going to say who, but I think everybody should know who if they go back and look at the schedule. As you see, we're 0-3 on the preseason. So far, not really worried about that, really worried about preseason at all. You take a look at our league team schedule. I'm going to back out of league schedule. We're going to take a look at the team schedule. So we end the preseason with the Chargers, but you take a look at the regular season. We're going to start off with the Falcons. The Falcons had a pretty good season last season. I believe they won the NFC South, if I'm not mistaken. No, actually, they came in second. The NFC South was won by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So they came in second. They got a pretty solid team still. We're going to take a look at their team and see exactly where their weaknesses are and maybe something we could attack during the game. Let's jump right into the Falcons. So Falcons right here. Where am I going? Let's get there. All right, here we go. We're on the Falcons. All right, as you see, their quarterbacks, they still got Matt Ryan, and they actually got a rookie that they drafted, a really fast rookie. So he seems like he's going to be somebody that they're going to use in special packages. When he's on the field, we might want to look for a QB spy and a contain just to make sure that he doesn't hurt us. But Matt Ryan's going to be his starter. You take a look at his halfbacks. He has Todd Gurley, and then he has Ito Smith. He actually put Ito Smith on the trade block, but he has only 2 running backs on the roster, so I have no clue what he's doing there. But Todd Gurley's still somebody that could hurt you. Pretty decent speed. I mean, he's not as fast as I thought he would be, but he's still at 89 overall and has good running attributes. Great juke move, great ball carrier vision, great carrying. So he's not going to really fumble a lot, but that's somebody we might have to key in on. Then he's got Keith Smith as his fullback. Not anybody to talk about there. You take a look at his wide receivers. He's got a lot of speed on the outside with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. Especially Calvin Ridley is not, I wouldn't say a burner, but he's got respectable speed, that's for sure. 94 speed. They both had under 1,000 yards last season, so it wasn't a great season for them. It seems like he used them both equally. Then he drafted Tamarion Terry. Probably should have used a draft pick on a running back, to be honest. Then he's got Nico Collins. So he actually drafted 2 wide receivers, maybe 3. I don't know if Coxie was a draft pick also. He might have drafted 3 wide receivers. Maybe Julio Jones is somebody that he looks to trade instead of Ito Smith. You take a look at his tight ends. He doesn't really have any good tight ends, so that's somewhere where we don't have to really focus on. 92 acceleration though on this guy, so that's pretty impressive. 82 speed. I wonder what that's going to look like with the 92 acceleration. So we'll see what that looks like, but I'm not really worried about the tight end, so we might actually come out in a lot of nickel. But then again, we have to worry about Todd Gurley, so we'll see exactly how he's running the ball. If he's having some success, we'll probably start off nickel. If he has some success, then we'll move to a bigger package. But might start off nickel, going out nickel or big nickel or something like that to start the game. Take a look at his offensive line. Really weak offensive line. He has a few guys in the 70s. Jake Matthews is his best offensive lineman at 77. Let's take a look at Jake Matthews. He doesn't have anything really special. Good lead block, I guess, but nothing special about Jake Matthews. So his offensive line is definitely not going to be a strong factor. So we might be in nickel and be rushing, trying to go for sacks and maybe we'll get caught up field, but I don't think so. It doesn't look like the offensive line could really handle my defensive line, so that could be a factor that goes in our favor in the game. You take a look at his defensive line. He has Dante Fowler Jr., who's strictly a pass rush guy. His pursuit's pretty good. His block shed is terrible. So if I see him on the line, I think that's somebody I'm going to run at a lot. Then you take a look at his right end. He's got Takaris McKinley. He's got really good athleticism, but he's another guy who's mainly a pass rusher. So I think we're going to have a lot of success running the ball against this guy. But he does have Grady Jarrett, who's got relentless, great block shedding. So I think instead of outside, we're going to have a lot of success. We're just not going to have much success running to Grady Jarrett and running on the inside. He's got Jonathan Allen. So what it's telling me is I think he's going to run a 4-3, and we're going to have to attack him outside the tackles when it comes to our running game, which fits perfect because that's the type of game we're going to run when you look at our running backs. So you take a look at his linebackers. He's got Walker. Not very good block shed. His pursuit is okay, nothing great there. So we might be able to set the edge and close him out as far as getting to that edge and making a tackle. Deion Jones is obviously the guy we have to look for. 92 pursuit, decent block shed as well. Okay hit power. He's got very good coverage ability, so maybe he could man up on George Kittle. We'll have to see during game, but George Kittle is definitely a tough guy to cover. Then you take a look at his right outside linebacker. He's got a lot of speed out here with Olakun. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Not very good play recognition, so we could probably hit him with some play action. All his linebackers don't have great, except for Deion Jones. He's got 82, so he's not bad. But when it comes to the right outside linebacker and the left outside linebacker, not a lot of play recognition there. So maybe we could hit him with some play action. He's got decent pursuit though. Terrible block shed. So once he gets on a block, I don't think he's shaking it. Then you take a look at his corners. He's got Kendall Sheffield. We got Michael Williams now, and he's 6'4". So if we see Kendall on him, We might put a high ball and let Mike Williams go up and get it, just because of the height advantage, even though he does have good jumping ability at 92. Then you take a look at his second cornerback. He's got AJ Terrell, 92 speed, so he's going to be solid. He might be solid in the future too. I wonder what he's got a normal dev trait though. But if he sinks contact into him and gets some dev stories, he could be a problem in the future. Same thing with Kendall Sheffield. He's normal as well, but he's 25 years old, so he's still relatively young. And then he drafted the 6'4" cornerback. Maybe that's somebody that mans up on Mike Williams come game time because he has the size to match up. But he doesn't have. He has pretty solid coverage ability too, with man coverage and zone being high 70s. So, and his press is 81. So this is actually a good little piece that he got. If he puts a lot of content and he gets a dev trait, he could be a lockdown corner in the future. You take a look at his free safety. He has another 6'4" guy. Not really fast, but he's got a lot of height, so he could be dangerous when he's lurking. Let's take a look at his jumping ability. 85, not the greatest, but he's still got that 6'4" body size, so that's somebody to look at. He might put him in nickel situations next to Deion Jones. Then you take a look at Ricardo Allen, but he doesn't have many safeties. He just has the two single safeties. He needs to fill out his roster, to be honest. I don't know if it's a cap situation or what, but he doesn't have a lot on his roster. Very good play recognition from Ricardo Allen. Good zone coverage. Let's take a look at his pursuit. 84. What kind of? He's a run support type of safety, so he's gonna get up there and help with the run game. Don't know how much, but he'll get up there and try to help with the run game. So maybe trying to throw against him might work. 71 zone, so trying to throw over the top might work against him. We'll have to look at it. Depends on where Kendall Sheffield is and stuff like that. But should be a pretty good test week one. Still a solid team. Has a lot of holes to fill. But it should be a good little game. I don't know if I'm going to play tonight or tomorrow, but after I do play, I will have those highlights for you, and we will talk about that game. But that's going to be the game plan going into it. Hopefully it works out, and hopefully we can start off the season 1-0. Thank you all for watching. I hope you continue watching this series. Hope you keep up with our PML fantasy series, and yeah, I mean, this is going to be a lot of fun and a lot of content for everybody. So I hope y'all enjoy, and y'all have a good one.